Hello, the current Overwatch Twitter discourse is about support being the easiest role to rank up on, and some people may have seen responses going on about how it's mathematically that does not check out. And it feels like a lot of people just don't really understand what people are talking about when they say that the math does not check out for that take that supports is easy role to rank up on. So before you dislike or anything, just hear me out at least. Who knows, maybe even like the video first and subscribe as well, because you could always just undo it later if you feel like it. But please don't do that. Please, I'm begging you. Please just like and subscribe. I'm trying to work on some cool stuff that isn't just me talking into a microphone, but it's taking time, so I'm just talking into a microphone for today. But the main crux of the whole argument that the math does not check out for support being the easiest role is because a lot of people, when they are having these arguments about which role is the easiest or the hardest to rank up on, are talking about roles like they're different builds in Elden Ring. Oh, magic is easy to beat the game with. Real men play with only two-handed weapons. No shields, that's cheap, that's easy. Just rolling and a big old two-handed sword. That's the hardest way and how real gamers play Elden Ring. The problem is that argument does not really work at all when it comes to a 5 versus 5 team-based game like Overwatch. You're trying to compare these different roles separately when the reality is that every game will have two teams consisting of 2 supports, 2 DPS, and 1 tank. Mathematically, you can't really say that one role is easier to rank up on than another role, because in every single game, 2 people playing that role are going to win and gain rank, while 2 people are going to lose. Every single role is net neutral in that regard. Of course, there's only 1 tank, so there's not 2 tanks, there's only 1, but it's the same thing. 1 tank is going to gain rank, the other tank is going to lose rank. Unless it's a draw or something, but that's very uncommon. So you can't really say that a role is easy to rank up on, because in that case, why is the other team not ranking up? The game is clearly not easy for them if they're not winning on support. Every game has 2 people losing on support and 2 people winning. You can't really say that it's easy. Now, getting into the other issue, it's that the question of which role is the easiest to rank up on is actually not a good question. People actually mean one of 2 questions that both have a different answer. Which role is the easiest to rank up on if you deserve to rank up, and which role is the easiest to rank up on if you do not? And the answer to this is which role gets the most value over the same role on the other team. Basically comparing the ability of you on your role to get more value than the enemy team on their roles. There's always going to be exceptions, but that's going to be the basic line of logic. If you are able to consistently diff your opponents that are on the same role as you are, you should be able to win more games than you're losing. Because of that, that's why comparing value to value, like comparing support to DPS, doesn't really work. Because if support value is incredibly easy as it's getting a cooldown and throwing it, that also means the other team's supports are going to do the exact same thing, so it kind of cancels each other out. Because both teams are just going to be getting the same amount of absurd support value that's very easily accessible from the cooldowns that support heroes have. I feel like another thing that a lot of people just don't talk about in regards to support abilities is that a lot of them take 0 skill to use. I say this as someone that plays support, but Ana's nade is not a skill-based ability. I'd say that Sleep Dart is, but not nade. Getting value out of anti-nade on Ana revolves less around your skill on the character and more so on the enemy team's lack of skill at playing against anti-nade. Nade is kind of like a skill check ability, but not for you, for the enemy team. Everyone's waiting for the competitive overhaul in Season 9, so I got bored and just duoed with a friend playing Mauga Moira and just got both accounts to top 500 because it's funny. And if you're wondering why we did Mauga Moira and not Mauga KarQ, it's mainly because my friend that was playing the Mauga just enjoyed playing Mauga. He's the one that helped me with all of the Mauga rollout videos. He just enjoys the character. And in playing the character a lot, he got actually good at managing Mauga's cooldowns and playing around anti-nade to the point where it was better for us to just run a support that is more able to enable the Mauga, which the Moira pick is very long to explain, but it was something I theory crafted before they nerfed him. And also we played both the accounts to top 500 after the Mauga nerfs. It wasn't even before when he was broken. It's the current Mauga we have right now on live. But like the biggest thing with Mauga Moira is that Coalescence is just basically a free fight win if you just play around it with your Mauga. But as we played, he developed an actual disdain towards KarQ just because he felt like Cleanse did nothing. Anytime he got cleansed, he was already going to play around it and he wasn't going to die if he did not get cleansed of the anti effect. But long tangent short, a lot of abilities like anti are not skill-based abilities. You can play around them if you know your character, or if you just position well around getting antied, or just baiting it out and blocking it. The end point is that getting value out of the ability is not based on your own skill at the character or at the role. It's based around the enemy's lack of skill in dealing with the ability and trying to play around it, since it is just a very free and easy cooldown in most situations, especially in 5v5. In 6v6, getting a nade was slightly harder because you had to play around two tanks that both would have defensive cooldowns that could block it. But in 5v5 with only one tank, it's basically free 90% of the time. It's just up to the enemy team to play around it, either by having their tanks actually play around it and having their team not all stack up on each other in front of the Ana, or, you know, running a KarQ. But back to the whole argument of mathematically proving that support is not the easiest role. It is, and it isn't. Going back to the question that I split into two questions, which role is the easiest to rank up in if you deserve to rank up? I would say that that would be DPS, or probably tank. Which role is the easiest to rank up if you don't deserve to rank up? Support. There's a video Metro did about trying out support as a beginner, which was pretty interesting. You should watch it if you have time. It was well edited, very nice video. It's just fun. But he ends it with showing a montage of all of his worst plays and says, and just paraphrasing it, he says he doesn't think he would have been able to get to Grandmaster making all of these mistakes if he was on a different role. And I feel like, yes, that's true. And that kind of goes against the point that a lot of people make that support is the easiest role to rank up on. Because that just means that your role is not impactful, that you can throw and die off cooldown and still win a game. Attack 0. People ask, oh my god, who's boosting him? No one. He's just playing support, and every game is just like 50-50, he wins or loses. Either his team's DPS are better than the enemy team's DPS, and you win, or your team has the worst DPS, and you lose. Support is just a role that provides so much free value that's easily accessible that it ultimately starts to not matter in the long run because both teams are getting access to all of that free value. There is very little that you can do to truly optimize that value more than the supports on the enemy team are. Now, to get into stuff that might make people change their mind, saying that support is the easiest role to rank up on and is the most impactful and that DPS is the least impactful role means that every single DPS player is boosted as fuck. The game is a 5v5 team-based game. If support really is the easiest and most impactful role in the game, then that would mean that the team with the better support players would just win every time, meaning that DPS don't matter and that all the DPS players are boosted. You can't say that, oh no, actually that means I'm better than everybody because I'm winning my games as DPS. No, that would mean DPS is the most impactful role in the game. If support is the most impactful role in the game, you get carried every single game as DPS. That's what it means. And yet all the time people act like it's the exact opposite and say, oh, every single support player is boosted. Get quaked on tweet. Oh, wow, I can't wait till they nerf supports so that players like this are out of GM. And I'm like, that's gonna make it worse. That's gonna mean that supports are even more boosted than ever before because you're removing their already limited impact over outvaluing the supports on the other team. If you were to see, you know, a Sojourn with a perma Mercy E-Girl pocket, you're going to say the Sojourn is boosting the Mercy. If support is the most impactful role in the game, that would mean the Mercy is boosting the Sojourn. Not like damage boosting, but I mean like actual like boosting. You get it. Basically, the whole argument about how support is the easiest role in the game is kind of really stupid because when it comes down to what everyone believes about the game, that just doesn't work. Nothing would check out. In concept, mathematically, nothing checks out with this argument. It's a very silly argument to make. If you want to say that supports are the most boosted role in the game, that would also by nature mean that they are the least impactful. Because if they were the most impactful, the best support players would easily be able to rank up. But instead, you just see boosted support players getting ranked up. I've seen the Twitter clips. I've seen them. Now, as for what you believe, I don't think anything really matters. Not just until Season 9 when we get the new ranked system, but just in general. You're arguing over which parts of the race car are the most important. And be like, I'm the tire. Tire is so much more impactful than the engine. In the end, it really feels like a lot of people are mistaking easiness for fun and stress, because support is just the most fun in the game. You're playing an actual unique and interesting game when you're playing support. DPS players are just playing Call of Duty. Tank players are just playing CBT Domestic Abuse Simulator. They're just getting fucking destroyed left, right, and center. Hit with every single cooldown in the game. Like, if you've seen the gameplay I'm probably using in the background, this is just like top 500 Overwatch, but I'm playing Ana, which is a character I almost never play. Like, it doesn't matter that the enemy team's support is like 18-7 or something. My team is still just going to win because we have the better DPS and tank players. If our DPS are winning the DPS duels, then we just win. Now, if you try to put the whole supports are better DPS argument into the mix, I would still say that this kind of does not stack up at all, because you are still trying to compare two different roles as a one-to-one in a team-based game where you have a limited number of each role. Like, it does not matter if you're playing Soldier 76 or Baptiste or KarQ or any of those characters. You're still going to get absolutely slapped by a decent Sojourn that just has a perma Mercy pocket subbed up her ass that's just giving her a colonoscopy 24/7. A DPS that's actually getting support from an actual support character is just going to outperform any DPS or support DPS character 9 times out of 10. That's kind of why if you ever look at win rates on Overbuff, which is usually pretty damn accurate sometimes, most of the time, every once in a blue moon, the best performing supports in the game are always the ones that are just really good at enabling teammates. It's always just Brig, Lucio, Mercy. Illari's really good because Pylon. At some point, I wish we could just have, you know, actual hero stats from Blizzard themselves, because I think there's a very few reasons why the community should not be able to at least see this data, and it would also make the balancing decisions that the game makes make a whole lot more sense to people, because people would actually be able to cut and dry see which heroes are performing the best right now, instead of having to rely on, you know, third-party websites like Overbuff that might not have everything, you know, be correct. So yeah, I'll shut up for now before this gets any longer. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Don't unlike, don't unsubscribe, please. Even if you don't like me, you don't have to turn on notifications or anything. I mean, you could just subscribe because, I don't know. Did you think I was funny? You didn't think I was funny. I've been going on for a while. I think I did actually answer the question I posed at the beginning about why people give the whole, well, actually, mathematically, this doesn't work out. I just wanted to talk about this for a bit because it's fun, and also to add my own argument in that if you believe that support is the most impactful role in the game, then that means that every DPS player is boosted because the supports would be the ones winning the games for them, because they are the most impactful. The supports would be boosting all the DPS players. And I feel like 90% of people would not agree that that's the case. So we'll have to continue looking into how Overwatch works and what actually gets value in the game. And you know what role is actually the most impactful in trying to win games. Goodbye.